Okay, I promised you a video for today. I have gone through many things in my mind for how to give you a video really useful. Through this video, I could just tell you why socialism should be rejected. I will do so in a way that is highly emotionally intelligent, I believe. Now, many people can make a strong case for socialism. I must let you know, I have a very strong disdain for the Congress person by the name of AOC, the representative of the person in New York, Alexandria OcasioCortez. I'm not a fan of her. Not a fan at all. Because in a 60 Minutes interview, the one that she was on, she said, in effect, that it's okay to be semantically and factually incorrect when she is being morally correct. There are a few things in this life that I would find more dangerous than that. When one commits to secular dogma and they do it because they find moral superiority in doing it, that is one of the worst things of all time. Secular dogma of all things, secular dogma. But then dogma can be right at times. Dogma can be right. So let me tell you something else. Not dogma, but let's say there are things that you know are blatantly not true. Blatantly not true. You know they're not true, but you say these are morally right. And you know that the circumstance that you're going to do following them is unsustainable. Still here, I have not made... but though that did come off as kind of mean, perhaps what I said. What I said came off as kind of mean. Let me start again. I'll give you a good case. There is a good case for socialism. There is a lot of things sound like getting free stuff. When I walk through the store and I walk in there and everything is free, when I hear it, I feel good. And when I see that, and when I have the idea of everyone in my nation having a good life, a very good life, that also makes me feel good. That everyone can have a decent life. And if I had been in a situation where I had been told all my life that socialism is the best way, then I would do it. If I was in a somewhat of a if I was in a society where I deep down felt very disenfranchised and believing in socialism and espousing it made me feel most... No. That was inappropriate. That was inappropriate. I shall do this in a more morally intelligent way. More emotionally intelligent. It does seem like there's a good case for it. And Marxism, it's appealing to people. Now I will tell you some anecdotes. I'll tell you the one that Jordan Peterson said a while ago, and I'll tell you what an archetype is. An archetype is I hope no one's finding this offensive. An archetype is when one is going to see something, a symbolic image that you understand in a you do not consciously understand, but you subconsciously understand how something is non-consciously correct. Just Peter Pan, I'll give you this one, Peter Pan. So let's say young people that believe in socialism are like Peter Pan. Pan in Greek is the god of the wilderness. In Greek mythology, Pan is the god of nature. So it is no coincidence that Peter Pan is named Peter Pan. That's something Jordan Peterson is. It's something I'm paraphrasing him. Am I parroting him? I don't think so. Jordan Peterson. Then you have Captain Hook, someone who is running, and someone who Peter Pan does not want to be like. Let's say Captain Hook wants something in Peter Pan, or Peter Pan's broke, for some reason Captain Hook wants to do something to Peter Pan. It is beyond me what it is, but the main thing is Peter Pan is really young. There's the kids that like socialism and like that mentality, and Captain Hook is the adult that likes capitalism and is more conservative, as people would see it. And what the main fear is the dragging of time. Captain Hook is called Captain Hook because his hand was lost to an alligator. So if Captain Hook is eaten by an alligator, then that is just more and more discouragement of the Peter Pan to want to be like Captain Hook, to want to grow up. Why would Peter Pan want to grow up? But then Peter Pan is bringing along with him a group of lost boys, and Wendy, someone who's not going to marry him because, well, she's going to go back. She's not going to stay behind and stay with some guy like that. It's a buffoon. Moving forward, Peter Pan is he is leading a bunch of lost boys into the wilderness with him, Or he could face civilized reality and be a pirate who is capitalistic like Captain Hook. Peter Pan feels that capitalism is greedy like pirates, when in actuality socialism is where they take money from people to earn it. But they claim due to social structures they don't deserve it. So it results more in the neighborhood that Peter Pan is in. Is that a good archetype, a good image one would subconsciously understand? But it's symbolic, it's an image it's subconsciously understood, and it is in popular culture. Peter Pan, right? I told you that Peter Pan's a socialist, Captain Hook is a capitalist. And I will tell you something else now. I have just told you an anecdote. Okay, interesting fact. Many people would agree, many economists would agree that the capitalism in the United States is not capitalism, it's corporatism. Such as the Wall Street bailout, when people moved there to occupy Wall Street. That's what they decided to do, occupy Wall Street. But think, though, if the government is going to bail out the companies in Wall Street, who is to blame? The government or Wall Street? The government for giving out the bailouts or Wall Street for accepting them? If you put a check in front of someone, they're going to take the check. Let's say you put a check in front of me, I'm going to take it. And I will agree there's a lot of nuance to this, so I will stop for a few minutes, and I will give you a more conscious example. Healthcare. I know many Democrats are Democrats just because of healthcare, because they like the idea of healthcare. They like it. I'm not going to fault them. I'm sure they're well-intended. People do not make decisions and consider the worst thing that's going to happen. Neither do I. We're all kind of in bubbles. People rationalize why they're in their bubble and they stay in their bubble. And let me move on a little bit. Healthcare for all. Peter Schiff, an economist, predicted who gave the point originally about Wall Street being occupied. I just parroting him. No, I said it in another way, that he's one of the people I heard that from. I've heard other people say that also. What Peter Schiff has to say is, well, Denisha Sood is also brought up this point about how healthcare, a lot of Democrats and Republicans are that way because they like healthcare for all. And they like a lot of social benefits. But if you have a multitude of people that are entering the United States and they're not being counted, you can't think of people in an abstract sense. People don't exist in the abstract, such as undocumented immigrants. They do not exist in the abstract. People don't exist in the abstract. They are people, and there are more differences between a person and a person than a group and a group. There's a higher difference between individuals than between groups. Having said that, undocumented immigrants, what if most of them are net negatives and they come here because they are lured by the social security system we have, and them utilizing it is causing the system to go bankrupt? And you could think for a few minutes, tax the rich, no-brainer tax the rich, but the rich are going to find ways to get around the taxes. Rich or not, wouldn't. They're going to find ways to get around the taxes. So I have just stated that. I've stated that that is the case, or maybe that's not the case. So let's not talk about undocumented immigrants, and they are an abstract, like they're actual people. Okay. Now let's say. Now I'll give you an actual, more concrete example. I've talked about archetypes. I've talked about Peter Pan. Archetypes, Peter Pan. Actually, I started stating how you could make a good case for something. Then I stated the archetype. That was kind of also in the form of Peter Pan. So these two fingers should maybe one finger. Archetype and stating what is what. Then I started to give you an example of socialism and of experts that have talked against it. I've started to talk about undocumented immigrants and how if they are net negative for the economy, if they take in more money than they spend, if they take in more money than they produce, as far as economic growth, and they are net negative. Now I'll bring you to the third point. Getting closer, what does healthcare for all mean? What does healthcare mean? You got person A, B, and C. You will see now why I don't have my own studio. Well, maybe I can afford one, maybe I can't. If I don't have one, so if you hear people talking outside my room, that is simply the way it is. Now, moving on, I don't think it is that damaging to the video. As far as the quality goes, that I mean to speak to you about, let's talk about, let's say we have three people, person A, person B, and person C. A, B, C. A, B, C. Free something. Person A wants food. Person A is the consumer. Person B is the provider. Person A, and there is a free thing between A and B. They both don't have to give each other money. Person A does not have to give a dime to person B for what they're getting. They can get whatever they want, as much as they want. They have to consider what it is. Person C, however, has to pay the taxes for it. Person C has to pay for it, and he is not in either of the two ones. And that is where the danger of free stuff given by the government is. That's the danger. Person A and B are going to make transactions that person C has to pay for in the end. Now I'll tell you about healthcare. Let's say I am the consumer. Well, I'll give you this one. Let's say I'm the doctor. And I can, and under Obamacare, the doctor gets paid by the government more money than they usually would. That's what Peter Schiff brings up. And the consumer goes along with it because they think, hey, this is Obamacare. If I had to pay for the health care myself, which would maybe be let's say $10 a month, I would be missing some extra stuff Obamacare would not be giving. I believe that is a wrong, because the price may be given by the government, but person C is still getting taxed to death by person A and B. I was being person B. I was being the doctor. I was being B. I had to deal with A. I could charge A. I could get more money. And then, everybody knows. You have person D. That is not actually a person. Person D is the government. Person D, or D is the government. D is the government. The government has no money of its own. The government only has people's money. And I'll tell you two other facts. I'll throw them in at the end. Sales aren't profit. Sales are not profit. And another one, money isn't purchasing power, or currency is not purchasing power. Let's say I have $1 today and I have $1 back when inflation was less. The dollar today is less in value than when $1 when inflation was less, when there was less inflation. Thank you.